Hello everyone, thank you for joining me again today. In previous videos, we cleaned and restored the rear wheel liner. We also did some work on the wheel speed sensor, the connection, the rubber boot. Here you can see how they're rejuvenated and they look like brand new. The bleeder for the brakes. There are much more rubber and plastic components further in that I'll be paying attention to, but today in this video I would like to take care of the bump stop for the rear wheels. Now I could clean this in place. Actually it looks quite bad. There's no way to sugarcoat this. I would like to clean it. I would like to bring it back to its original or as close as possible to that condition. So I could do it in place, but it seems to be held by 4 bolts only, and they're all T40 Torx. So I thought, how about I simply take it off, remove it from the vehicle, and then clean it separately. I think the result will be better, and then I can just mount it back. So let's do that now. Okay, not too hard. Let's take a look at this first bolt. Massive. Wow, look at that. Hold on. Look at this. Wow, I've never seen a thread like this before. Bolt looks to be in great shape. I will maintain the head here, clean that up, but the rest of it looks great. All right, 3 more to go. This is closer to the lip here. Maybe I can try further down. Oh boy. I don't have enough clearance here. Let's leave those for later. There we go. Okay. Again, pretty good condition. All right, for these two, because they're so close to the edge here, I mean, this edge is not overly sharp, but I don't want to hurt myself, so let me figure out how I'll loosen them. I may get a bit of an extension here and basically get this would work, and I can get an extension to get a bit more leverage so that it's easier to loosen those. Let me do that now. Of course, the favorite method with a wrench like that never lets me down, and with the extra leverage it's pretty easy to get this loose. Naturally these are shorter. There we go. And last one. There we go. Great. Well, bolts are out. Oh, it just comes right off. Right off. Beautiful. No any sign of rust underneath or anything like that. Love it. All right, here's the component. Let's start cleaning. All right, for a component like this, I would usually take it outside, spray it with a degreaser, and then hit it with a pressure washer. Now, with -7 degrees outside, that's not really an option at this time of the year here in Canada. So I move on to the second alternative, or the first best alternative, which is the laundry room sink. I have a suspicion that my wife might not be overly excited about this, but hey, at least I'm not using the kitchen sink, right? So we work here in the laundry room, and instead of, yeah, I mean, in terms of degreaser, instead of using the stronger and more aggressive things like engine cleaner or brake parts cleaner, in this case I would use just a dishwasher type of spray degreaser, which is more gentle. And the reason why I'm doing that is because we have a big piece of rubber here, which I would like to um, preserve, in a sense that I don't want to be overly aggressive towards the rubber. So we'll use the dishwasher product. It will probably take longer to do it that way, but at least it's gentler and softer on the rubber. In addition, I will use a brush. Now this brush has plastic bristles. You could use an old toothbrush as well. I think that would work also. So let's get started. Get it wet first. By the way, I'm going through this in a bit more detail because on some of my previous videos I had questions from subscribers about, well, how do you actually clean the parts? So I thought, let me maybe demonstrate that here in this video. Once it's wet, I'll spray it. Again, this is dishwasher type of product. It's very gentle on the hands, on the skin. There's nothing to worry about. And you can already see, let me just start rubbing a little bit. But you can see how the foam is becoming brownish and dark because it's starting to lift off dirt from the surface. I hope that's visible in the video, but the foam is now very, very brownish. There it is. It almost entirely turned brown. So this is still acts pretty quickly and does a good job. Look at my hands, right? So all of this dirt just came off. I suspect I will need to do this several times, meaning rinse, spray again, clean, and so on. Eventually, probably closer to the third or fourth time, I would use the brush to sort of agitate the surfaces like this a bit better, get all the surface dirt off, and after that, final rinse, and we'll let it dry. So let me do that off camera. I think you get the idea in terms of my process, and then we'll take a look at the component at the end. I forgot to mention, the dirt that was on this component is actually mainly rainwater and particles of sand or soil lifted up from the road surface. There was no grease or oils or anything like that here. If there was grease on this component, I would not be working on it inside the house. I would not be using a sink, and I definitely would be wearing gloves as well. But this was mainly soil and rainwater dried up onto the surface, so relatively safe to work on something like this inside the house. Now, the component is clean, it's dried, and just to compare, let me get the other one here. So this is the second bump stop. This one I have washed and degreased, but I did not use the plastic bristle brush. So for this component, I did not brush. And you can see the difference. So here I did brush on this one. For this one, I did not brush, and you see how there's still leftover accumulation on the surface. I will go over this again with the brush so that I can get it closer to this condition. It's really up to you how far you want to go. At the end of the day, this is a component from the suspension of your vehicle, right? So you don't really have to strive for perfection here, but I guess going with the brush just gives you a better result. Now, once everything is clean and dried, you get to probably the most important part of this little project, and that is get your favorite vinyl rubber plastic protector product. In this case, I'm using Jaguar's. You want something that ideally has UV protection, something that is non-greasy, and something that is meant to protect or preserve vinyl, rubber, and plastic. You want something like that. The idea is that you would spray this component with this product, and you would essentially rehydrate the rubber. You would rejuvenate it. You would leave a film on top, which acts as a protector and prevents it from cracking, fading, and so on in the future. This rubber is in really good shape, by the way. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but there are no cracks or tears or anything like that. So it looks in great shape right now, but I would still spray it with the product and let it soak. I would let it soak for 10-15 minutes, maybe even half an hour, let the product penetrate, and then I would wipe it off after. So let's wait for that to happen. Here it is, the rear suspension bump stop, cleaned, treated, the rubber rejuvenated, and looking good. By the way, the part number indicated here is MJA 3750A, and I think this 496 may indicate that this component itself was manufactured in April of 1996. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but if that is the case, this is more than 5.5 years before my particular vehicle was assembled. So that's pretty interesting. Anyways, this is looking good. Let's move on to the next step. All right, let's take a quick look at the bolts. Now, the bolts themselves are great. They look clean, no signs of rust. The heads are a bit dirty, understandably so, and there may be little traces of rust here. I took one of them and cleaned it just under the water. It looks good. On this side, there may be little traces of rust on the inside. So what I'm thinking of doing is basically the must for rust, pour a little bit in this plastic cup at the very bottom, and then I would place basically the bolt inside like this and have it stand straight and bathe, just the head of it, bathe in the liquid for 10-15 minutes. Let me set this up here to the side. So sort of this kind of setup. The liquid is covering the entire head of the bolt. I'll let it stay there for 10-15 minutes, and then I'll switch the bolts, have all of them go through this so that any traces of rust are taken off, stripped down, and then I can use these bolts to reassemble. All right, we're back about 15 minutes later. Now, take this out. Oh, look at that. Still not perfect, but a lot has been cleaned off. And if you look in here, all these little particles that are now at the bottom, those are pieces of rust. Let me try to wipe some more dirt is coming off. That's what we have now, as compared to, let's say, the other one, which is untreated. Here it is. All right, let's do all the bolts and then we can reassemble. I've cleaned the bolts and things look great. The paint, which was compromised by rust or corrosion, has completely been stripped away, fallen off. There is some paint remaining, which is still in, I guess, good shape. Now, how far you want to take this is completely up to you. You can use a wire brush and completely clean this up. You may even choose to repaint it, right? Apply new fresh black paint over the entire head of the boat and then reinstall. It's completely up to you. This is under the vehicle. It's not visible. I'm not too worried about it, but again, the possibilities are uh, endless. It really depends on you. Just want to show you the state here. Let me take this last bolt out. Wanted to show you the state of the little cap and the liquid after I've gone through it with 4 bolts. But you can see the little particles of paint and rust and overall debris that has been stripped down and removed from the bolts. It's all in here now. Alright, let's move back to the vehicle and continue there. A couple of quick notes before we reassemble. At a minimum, I'll take a wet wipe and clean the surface a bit. Not that it's dirty, but wipe this down. Now at this point, what you may want to consider is using something like this, corrosion inhibitor, rust inhibitor, undercoating, any sort of product that prevents metal from rusting. This is specifically for marine use. It works really well. There's many products like this. The point is, before you reattach the 2 pieces together, you may want to spray this area with such protection, or spray here and then bolt this back on. Like I said, I don't drive personally the car in the rain. As you can see, the car is over 20 years old. There's absolutely no signs of rust here or anything like that. I'm not worried for my particular vehicle. I probably would not be applying any undercoating like this. But if you daily drive your car, or you're in a climate where it rains a lot, now would be a good time to do that before you reassemble. Just a quick note, if you are planning on spraying an inhibitor like this, what you may want to do first is close off your threads here, something like this. Then you spray, because you want these to be dry, because when you reassemble, if you remember the bolts, they have thread locker on them right there, the blue part. This is thread locker, and you would want to reapply thread locker and put them back in. So keep those threads dry so that the thread locker can connect and do its job once these are in. Yeah, so those are the notes on reassembly. Up to you if you want to protect this area or not. Put this back, thread locker on the bolts, screw them in, tighten, and then we'll take a look at the final result. I thought about it a bit further, and I think I'll go ahead and actually spray this with the rust protector corrosion inhibitor. The main reason is that I found here this bottom plate that seems to be welded onto this beam here from the body, and it's welded in a way that it creates this little gap here, this little edge, where in theory it looks like a perfect spot where moisture would just get trapped and rest in there. Again, I don't think this applies for my use case, but in general I probably would want this to be a bit more protected. So I'll go ahead and I'll spray with the this corrosion inhibitor, rust protector, I mean, you can call it whichever way you prefer. There's many terms for it. It's a decent product. You can research it online, look for reviews, look for long-term tests. It's one of the best long-term testing products. So I'll go ahead and spray with that, and we'll let it dry after, before reassembling. Trying to get it in there in the opening along the edge here. and it's dripping everywhere. So, you know, make sure you have adequate protection for your braking system, all the braking components. I'm also protecting the suspension components further in, just with some old cloths. I think that's enough. Maybe give it one more layer. All right, and we'll let this dry. You can see the gloves and the bottle, so it's pretty messy. Just keep that in mind. Otherwise, there is a smell to it, but it's not, doesn't feel toxic or doesn't feel very strong. It's not the kind of smell that forces you to escape the area immediately or anything like that. All right, let's wait for it to dry. All right, the corrosion inhibitor is all dried up on the surface. You can see the difference here between the paint onto the metal that is untreated and then this area here which is treated. This looks a bit more yellowish. It has a slight yellow tint to it from the product. I also sprayed the back of the bump stop here so that I have product here, and when I connect them, it would isolate this area well and prevent any moisture from getting in. And in addition, I also covered the heads and just this last bit of threads here on the bolts. Basically the area which I treated for rust and corrosion, I've now covered it with the corrosion inhibitor as well. I haven't repainted the bolts, it's just protect them with the corrosion inhibitor. Okay, let's mount it back. Remember to add thread lock to the bolts before reassembly. The torque specs for these bolts are the well-known value of Gutentight. That's basically what I bring them up to, and there shouldn't be any problems with this. Now if you want, you can spray the top of this as well with the corrosion and rust inhibitor. This way you're encapsulating the whole component and area here. I don't think I need to do that, but it's an option. Alright folks, thank you very much for sticking around to the end. Good luck with your projects and see you in the next video. Take care.